Welcome to Life, Laughter, Divorce, episode 41. I am your host, Leanne Linsky.
And I'm the boyfriend.
And we are back for another week of divorce.
41 weeks now.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Right? We're going to keep doing this for a while until divorce is done. Till there are no more divorces.
Well, the only way that's going to happen is there's no more marriages.
Okay, let's keep going. Let's hope for that. So while you're out there tuning in, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe. And you might want to check out our website at lifelaughterdivorce.com. We have some retail therapy on there on our online store because I know the holidays coming up, people are going to be doing a lot of shopping.
Trust me, I'm sending stuff to my sister. I'm sending stuff to other family members and other friends because I will say something. These beeswax candles are amazing.
He loves them. He's burning them all the time. You are.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah, I'm that kind of guy.
Yep. I come over to the boyfriend's place and there's candles everywhere. And it's not even for me. It's just because you like them. So yeah, you guys might want to check that out. Oh man. With the holidays coming up, a lot of people, if you're going, did you know that this is actually, sorry, I had my brain jumped to another topic, but did you know that the holidays are actually the time of the lowest divorce rates?
Yeah, because there's so much going on. It's hard to, in tax season and all these, there's a bunch of reasons, but because divorce rates go up, or the amount of filings go up
in January.
Right after the first of the year.
Yeah, because people, they just want a clean tax year. I guess that's what it's all about. 6 more weeks of fighting or tax hell. So a lot of you are sticking it out for the next couple of months. So we're thinking of you and wish you all the best. You know, and for those of you who are sticking it out and are in the middle of it, being in the middle of it is hard.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I've never been in the middle of a divorce, but breakups, you're in the middle of it. How many clean breakups have you ever had? That just happen. It's like, we're done, we walk away and that's it. It doesn't happen like that. Typically there's a week or two of, at least in the relationships, a couple weeks, a couple months of just figuring it out. In divorce, it's what, years? Lifetimes?
It seems like it's a long time for so many.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, some divorces just drag on for so many years, and it is hard. And I think back to being in the middle of it and who I was. I wouldn't have wanted to hang out with me in the middle of my divorce. I was a Debbie Downer. You know, it was hard. I think about it, and it's like if I could take out all the times in my life that I was going through a breakup, and then remove those pieces from my life and then put my life back together, I'd probably gain about 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah, I could see that. Because going through it, and even if it is a clean breaker, when it is over, you're still dealing with all the emotional baggage that goes with it. And I've done it through breakups. It's not pleasant. People don't want to be around you, even though you need people around you. And until you work through it, you're not ready to move on. Right.
And it's one of those things too. I think about when I'm going through a breakup, you really need a really tight inner circle of people you can trust, you know, that you can go to and talk to about these kind of things. And it's hard. And you need people who can really understand and relate because.
And people who are honest with you.
Yeah.
That are just like, hey, don't do that. Don't. Yeah. Because those are the true friends and the ones that really care about you and want to help you get through this and move past it.
Yeah. And being close to them is super helpful too.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for phones and cell phones. I mean, when I was going through this in the 90s, I didn't have a cell phone. I think about that. Who did you end up talking to? The person who sat next to you at work.
Yeah, but the cell phones are also bad for the whole social media stuff that goes along with it too. So
yeah. So there is that. I mean, it's a double-edged sword, really. And it's tough being in the middle of it. And today, our guest, I'm very excited about our guest today. She actually is a comedian. She has moved from LA to the East Coast. She's in Pennsylvania now, which I'll let her tell her story on that. But she is a really funny comic. She actually did my show out here in Long Beach after I moved out to Long Beach, and I was producing a show over here on 2nd Street. Very funny woman. She is in the middle of a divorce, and I'm just going to let her tell her story. So I'd like to introduce you to Miss Tiffany King without further ado. Hey, Tiffany, welcome to Life After Divorce podcast.
Hi.
Hey, thanks for joining me all the way from New York City. Wait, you're not in New York today, are you?
Oh, God, no, I wish. That's a dream. My daughter and I are in Wayne, Pennsylvania. We're about 30 to 45 minutes outside of Philadelphia.
That's right. So sometimes I know I see your pictures in New York, so I know you're everywhere.
Yeah, well, I escape to New York as much as I can, but the town we're in, it's very, I wasn't saying, I don't know if you've seen the movie Get Out, but that's kind of where we live.
Yes, actually, we just watched that this weekend.
Okay, so then, yeah, it's just a bunch of affluent white people. I sound really racist when I say that against, white people, but it's a whole bunch of professors, university town. Very beautiful, just not, as a single mom, it's not where I would want to live, but I'm kind of being forced to live here right now. So.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you know my story at all, so I don't know if you know anything that's going on.
I know a little bit of it, but why don't you fill us in? Because I'm sure my listeners will want to know. So I know, you've had an ongoing journey.
Well, I mean, it's funny because the podcast is called Life After Divorce. My divorce isn't final, and I'm hoping that some people that listen maybe haven't even gone through the divorce process yet, because I would love to forewarn other women of moving across the country to another state with their husband if there is trouble in the marriage, because it appears that he moved us out here with a motive to isolate me, to make me vulnerable. That way, when he hit me with documents, I say blindsided. I mean, we had been discussing, we'd had issues for a while. I'm trying to make this sound very simple, but it's not simple.
It never is.
There's lots of layers. We've always had issues. I'm realizing now, about 2 months ago, I realized that it was a very, very abusive relationship. I come from a broken home, and he ended up being like the perfect combination of my mother and my father all rolled into one. I'm reading a book right now called Women Who Love Too Much.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, 2 months after being here, he kicked us out of the house that we were supposed to live in. So I left LA, my comedy, my agent, my manager, all those things, to basically follow he had started working for Property Brothers and HGTV.
Mm.
And it was one of those things, like, as a woman, we have our intuition. We know we can kind of feel the person like drifting away. And I was trying to come up with all these solutions to not only keep my marriage together, but to keep my family together.
Right.
So I came up with the idea of, through some things that he had told me about his boss, who has a kid and is married. He's like, oh, they just homeschool their son, and her husband follows the shows with her. And I was like, oh, I guess that's what he wants me to do. And, at the time, my self-esteem was probably not where it should have been, even though I had just booked some commercials, and I was finally doing really well in LA. But I was like, you know what? My daughter's more important. I'm the mother. I should sacrifice, which is obviously, in retrospect, I realized this is something society tells us that's not the truth. It's just because you're a woman and you go through the pain of childbirth doesn't mean that you are the designated martyrdom in the relationship. We shouldn't have to suffer to the benefit of the man. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So anyways, I made a choice to follow his show Property Brothers, and it was a really dumb decision career-wise. I had a lot of comics in LA. They were like, why are you going? I had a farewell show with Tony Baker and Shantae Wayans, Damon Wayans Jr., and Monique Flores and Jesus Trejo, and just all these amazing comics. And everybody's like, why are you leaving? They're actually finally doing really well now. They're like, you're funny now. You finally got funny. Why are you leaving?
Yeah.
You found your voice. But yeah, so I left, followed him to Vegas. And the minute we left LA, though, he got more physically abusive. And so we came out here, he kicked us out, and it's been over a year now. And it's just been such a challenging situation, because you want to be the best mom you can be. and to be like almost like a prisoner of a state. It's a really weird feeling, I have to admit.
Yeah.
I don't know the circumstances surrounding your divorce. I feel like, so didn't you say you had like moved and then the guy broke up with you or something? I thought.
Yes.
Is that you?
Yeah. And that wasn't even a divorce. That was just a terrible choice in relationships on my part, because I moved all the way from New York to LA, and then 7 weeks later he changed his mind. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That was.
Yeah. I mean, we were here less than 2 months, and it was just like, but it was like one of those things where I was in such trauma, and like we had discussed separating, but in my eyes, I guess because I was in denial, I was like, oh, maybe the art I'll have an apartment in New York. You'll go to Property Brothers in New Orleans for the next shoot. But we're going to still be married. We're still going to be husband and wife. We're still going to be a family. This is just giving us time apart because we're fighting so much. That's what I thought.
Right.
I didn't think that he was actually going to go out, get a lawyer. And I'm literally like in New York doing a bar show with, God, I'm trying to remember that male. I can't remember the male comic's name, but I know Casey Ballstrom was there, and I've known her for years. And I'm like literally outside of the bar in New York reading this email. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, he went out and got lawyers, and I'm like, what? I don't understand this.
Whoa. Okay, so let me back up a second. So I'm following you here. So he got this job. You followed him there thinking it was going to be okay. And then he completely took you by surprise and sent you an email that he was filing for divorce.
Yeah, like we had been arguing and stuff, and I might have, like, I have a joke about it, like I might have mentioned divorce, but it was one of those things where, like, it was almost like, which is not healthy on my part. Like, obviously I have some issues to be attracted to something so unhealthy, but I had mentioned divorce a few times. I didn't really mean it. I was just kind of saying it like as a way of, like, you know, how do I put it? We were fighting, and the house that we moved into was very dirty. There was obvious mold. In my opinion, I was a property manager in LA, so I saw like some leaks on the walls of like water, and I'm like, I have a child that's not even 3 yet, and I'm like, hey, we should get these things checked out. His sister's in the house. She's taking things defensively. He's taking things defensively because it's their mother's house, and she had died 5 years ago. And I'm like, no, I'm just being a mom. Like, I want my daughter to be safe. There was like 5 spiders in her bed. We need to get exterminated. We need to check out these leaks and make sure there's no mold. And they were taking it all the wrong way. And we had argued one night, and I'm like, fine, you want a divorce? Fine. Like, I felt like, though, now that I look back at it, he was kind of pushing my buttons. Like, he wanted me to say that. Like, he wanted to upset me because he obviously has something else going on. Like, I don't know if it's another woman or if he's like in the closet homosexual, but there's something going on that I don't know about. Like, besides the fact that he's a sociopath.
Right.
But
yeah,
we discussed time apart. We didn't really discuss the divorce. I think I mentioned it in fighting, like in passing. And then I opened this email while I'm in New York, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? It was like a, you know, legal separation, all these things. And of course I do my set anyways. And
yeah.
I think I wrote
yeah, of course we're not going to turn out stage time.
right? I'm like, I'm such a comic. So it's my set, and then I leave earlier than I had planned on leaving. And I got on the train, came back, and he was just like, you need to get out of the house now. He was trying to make me stay in a hotel, and I'm like, what? You can't make me and my daughter leave. He's like, well, she can stay, but you need to leave. I'm like, no, I'm not leaving my kid. It was really horrible. And the long and the short is,
yeah, because if you leave, then it's abandonment.
Right. And I'm like, first of all, and where am I going to go? I don't know anybody out here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know anyone. He's the only person. He's my world. And he was who I thought was my best friend. So he manipulates me, and I have recordings of him doing it. He's like, sign this. Because so what happened is when I was in New York, like a month before, I had done a show for Gotham Comedy Club. And that's the other thing. So I had worked at Gotham, and then I was producing a show at Gotham Comedy Club. I was still trying to maintain my comedic career out here because that was part of our plan. And while I was there for Gotham for that show, he was like, hey, why don't you just stay another day or two? And it was weird. It was almost like he was pushing me to be gone. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I kind of miss Zara. I want to come home. And he's like, okay, well. And I was like, babe, why is our bank account so low? Where's all your checks? And he's like, oh, they're coming. Just use your credit card. Like, he set me up.
Oh, no.
So, yeah. So long, I don't know how to make this. It's a really complex story, so I don't know how to make it short. But basically, he put us into an apartment in Philadelphia, took our only vehicle, which is under my name, for his shoot at Property Brothers. After I signed this document, he kind of manipulated and pressured me into signing because it was the only way I could get money or a place for me and Zara. I didn't realize that I wasn't a resident, so I could leave. So he put us into an apartment. He left for Property Brothers. And it wasn't until I saw my girlfriend, Shantae Wayans, that I realized something was wrong. Because I think I was just still, like, again, in denial, still loved him, still wanted to do whatever it took to make our family work. Because he was kind of like, you guys go into this apartment, and I'm going to go to the Property Brothers. You know, I'm not saying we're going to get a divorce, but we're going to do this just in case of the, it was like legal separation papers. And he's like, when I get back, I don't know what the future holds, but maybe, like, totally leading me on. And I rode, so he took our only vehicle, and I rode a bike to go see Shantae Wayans at the Punchline. And she was just like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean? Everything's great. Everything's fine. She's like, Tiffany, this is like another way of him abusing you. This is another form of abuse. And I'm like, what do you mean? Because she had seen pictures of bruises, and it was really bad. Like, and as a comic, I don't know how you feel, but I feel like as a comic, when we go on stage, we are portraying somebody that's very confident and very secure.
Yes.
Maybe not through all of our jokes, but you know what I mean? Like, it takes a lot of guts to get on stage.
Yeah.
So the last thing I wanted anybody to know was like, okay, you know what, guys, this is the truth. I'm actually kind of a little girl on the inside still, and I'm completely terrified of being alone. I can come on stage and tell jokes and make you laugh all day, but can I be alone in this world with my child? I don't know. I don't think I can. So I'm holding on to somebody who's abusing me, who doesn't love me, who disrespects me, and, grabs me by the throat, makes fun of me, and tells me, oh, you should be able to handle it. You're a comedian, like emotionally abusing me. It was just, I look back at it now and I cannot believe that I was able to maintain what I maintained.
Yeah.
Which, even now, I'm like, I guess I didn't maintain very well, because people are saying to me, like, we always knew something was up with you, or something was wrong. Like, we didn't know what was going on. We thought maybe you were just depressed. And it's like, no, I was being abused by my husband. Like,
yeah,
it was horrible.
So
he did me a favor.
So how long have you guys been separated at this point?
So it was last May when we came out here, and it was the July 4th weekend when he kicked us out, and the divorce isn't final. I actually have to go to court on December the 13th. He's taken me to court because I went public with the abuse. And the big battle right now is that I want to leave. I don't want to live here. And my daughter and I shouldn't be living here because it's harder for me to work as a comic. I can't just go and, I had an agent and a manager out in LA. I can't just go audition for commercials or for a sitcom.
Yeah.
He's never here. He's constantly out of state. So like last week he was in Tennessee. Before that, he missed his weekend with her to go to LA for a bachelor party. And then before that, he was on a 6-month shoot in Pittsburgh. So he's not even exercising all the custody he fought for. The problem is he has really good lawyers because he was prepared, and he has a very affluent uncle in this town who owns like 17 houses.
Right.
And my daughter and I live in a bedroom basement apartment less than a mile from the house he kicked us out of.
Holy cow. So, I have a question then for you. If you guys are still going through your legal battle, is anything that is said in this podcast going to be able, from my understanding?
I don't care.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm past that. Like, I feel that with everything going on with Harvey Weinstein, with Louis C.K., I have a voice. This is the last thing I had. You ruined my credit. You took my home away from me. You took my identity as a way, like I was a wife and I had a family, and you broke my family apart. You hurt my daughter. You hurt me. By God, if I go to jail because of something I said, then I'll go to jail, because you're not going to silence me. I will not be quiet. It's wrong what he's doing. On so many levels, it's wrong. Like,
right.
I should not be forced to live here. It's insane. And the thing is, it's not just me. It happens to a lot of women who love their husbands, who want to be a good wife, who want to be, a good mom, who feel like they should sacrifice, even though they feel in their gut something's not right. They trust their husbands, they move, and then this happens. I've heard so many stories. And my heart goes out to these other women, because I have one child, and I heard a story from a neighbor of mine out here in this town, Wayne, where her sister has 3 children. The dude reconnected with his ex on Facebook, started having an affair with her, moved her all the way down to where she is, and then dumped her and won't let her leave. And she's isolated with her kids.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's really sad. And I'm so sorry this is happening to you, especially with a daughter. I mean, I came out and went through this whole thing where I moved and was completely isolated from all of my friends and support.
Right.
And it was terrible. It was a horrible feeling. You don't feel in control. And I didn't have a car here either for a while. So, that's...
I mean, I ended up getting a car. I did get I got a used Prius to try to start doing Lyft. And, I I've been trying to make the best out of it, you know, but I feel that we should just be able to leave. And I want to go back to my life in LA, to be honest with you. I just want to go back home.
Right.
I was like, it was Texas or LA. Texas is where my family is. LA is where my career is. But it's like, I just want to go home. This isn't home. This is it's like, I thought of it as I was driving earlier. It's because it's very beautiful here. The trees are lovely. The weather right now is just gorgeous. The leaves changing colors. I mean, you're from New York, so you've seen New York in this time of year. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But what's ironic is there's this like pervasive feeling of like this looming hand over me, meaning like not over me on my head, but over my world. And it's his hand, and he is keeping us here. And it's a very weird feeling to feel like somebody is still controlling you, even though there's an appearance of freedom, right? There's guise of freedom, but really I'm not free, and neither is my daughter. We have to do what he says, because if we don't, if I try to leave with her, he'll call the police and he'll try to say I kidnapped her.
Of course.
So, yeah.
So your family's...
But the other...
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I just didn't want... I'm sorry. I don't want to talk too much. I'm like, I need to let you talk and ask questions. I just feel so strongly right now about what's being done to me being wrong, because a big part of it is, and if you watch any of my sets I have on YouTube, I even talk my sets where he asked me in LA, he was like, and I remember telling Jamar Neighbors, I don't know if you know Jamar Neighbors, one of my favorite comics and people. I haven't spoken to him in a while. I think the last time I called him, I left him a voicemail crying. Everybody in LA is probably like, have you heard a text from Tiffany King? They're like, oh yeah, she just left me a voicemail crying. Oh yeah, she left me one too. But I mean, I told Jamar when this happened, and we were in our apartment in Studio City. He was like, hey, you know, and this is my husband at the time saying, I just want you to take a back seat, you know, not be so loud around my friends, not make so many jokes, and, you know, just be more quiet, and, you know, not do comedy as much. I don't want you to do as much comedy. And I literally said, okay, babe, I'll try. But in my head, I was like, what the fuck? Like this, no, like, are you kidding me? Like, there's no way. Like, this is what I love to do. And what he's doing to me right now is he is on purpose trying to ruin my career, because he knows if I'm isolated with our daughter that I can't go out at night and do comedy, especially if you're like in a new city like Philly, where Philly's a little weird, because it's like they don't care that I have all these credits. They're not like, oh, she's at the Comedy Store, she's been on VH1 and TLC, and she's performed with, you know, all these big comics. They don't care because they want you to come and show, you know, hang out at the clubs. Well, I can't do that. I'm a single mother and I have nobody to watch my daughter, and I can't afford a babysitter. So he has very methodically set me up to kind of destroy me, which is insane that somebody would try to do that to the mother of their child. I think he might be a sociopath.
It sounds like it's sad.
Do you think maybe?
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, it's hard. My heart goes out to you. I totally understand what it's like to have picked up and left an entire life behind and try to make the best of something new and feel very stuck, you know? It's not easy. And you're in a much smaller market, in a smaller city, in a different vibe. And it's, you know, and you have your daughter with you.
Hate me here. I'm so obnoxious in this town. Like, I make jokes. And it's horrible. Like, I make jokes incessantly because I'm not on stage as much as I used to be. So I do it in conversation or in public, and they're like so offended by me.
They're like, who is this woman? Please go back to LA.
Kind of, yeah. It's like, and you really feel, the reason I refer to Get Out is because you really do feel the racism kind of like, there's this like layer of racism out here that's much more, in my opinion, in your face, because they have like a Black Lives Matter sign that's been vandalized. And I made, I think, a few jokes where I was talking about my Black, because I have a lot of Black friends. I have a lot of comic friends that are Black, and it's like, whatever, you know, but I said something about Black people, whatever. And I think somebody got offended, and they weren't even Black, they were white. They're like, oh my God. And they like complained at this open mic. And I'm like, well, it's a joke. And I don't understand what the problem is. If you're that offended, then why don't you go have them take down that Black Lives Matter that's been vandalized and have them put a brand new one up, because it's important. It's an important issue, you know, just like, I don't look like, me and my daughter don't look like the typical faces of domestic abuse. We don't look like, at least that's what I'm getting as far as the feeling, like people aren't believing me, you know. They're like, oh, you're being abused. I'm like, well, here's the photos of the bruises and the wall he punched and the door he split open and the writing where he talks about wanting to put me into a hole in the ground. Yeah, I'm being abused. Just because I'm an attractive woman, say, I'm not saying I'm pretty. Other people tell me I am, whatever. I think I have big nostrils. Actually, I don't think I have big nostrils. You know what? It's funny because he actually made fun of me about my nostrils. Like that's how much he would abuse me. He told me, he said, it's a good thing you have big nostrils because you like to run so much. It's easier for you to breathe. Like, that's the kind of shit he would put in my head. And then mind you, like, I'm being cut down and then going on stage an hour or two later trying to make people laugh with this
right
kind of like unrecognized palpable pain inside my chest of like, man, this person I love is like hates me.
Well, are you?
I know he doesn't hate me. He hates himself, but you know. When
it comes to the emotional or physical abuse, are you finding that when you're seeking legal guidance and help, are people believing you? Are they listening to you? Are they?
Well, that's the other thing is like, it would have been great. And I would love to have some sort of impact when it comes to this. Like, I want to help other women like me. First, I used to say I wanted to help other girls like me because, you know, my father left and hurt me and manipulated me. And oh, look at who I fell for. But now I'm thinking I want to help other women or maybe all females. But at the time when everything happened, it would have been great if I had been handed a therapist and a lawyer at the same time, but I wasn't handed those things. I was left to kind of say, oh my God, July 4th weekend, Zara's birthday is July 21st. We have no place to live. You know, I called my family back home in Texas. I called my mother and my stepfather, and my mother and I have always had a very turbulent relationship because I'm a product of mass dysfunction. My parents were married twice, divorced twice. They had a custody battle over me. And in the end, they both kind of just gave up and moved on with their new lives, meaning like my mother's remarried, has a new family. My father's remarried. And I don't even have a relationship with my biological father. But, and this is the thing is my husband knew all this about me. He knew where I came from. He knew all the trauma I'd been through. He knew I had abandonment issues. So he knew that what he was doing was going to be very traumatic to me. And he had no regard how it would affect my psyche or my daughter's psyche by seeing her mother cry, by seeing her mother go through these things. Like I was literally having flashbacks from my childhood. It was horrible. But I didn't go and find a good lawyer. I didn't go on Google search because I couldn't, because I was so messed up in the head. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. So when I finally did get a lawyer, it was by word of mouth. I didn't even realize when I retained him, he wasn't even a family lawyer. He was just a lawyer. So I was like, oh, now I'm like, okay, you find a good family lawyer. You find someone who has at least 15 years of experience. And I didn't know. I just was really concerned more about my daughter's third birthday than I was about the legal paperwork, which is a shame because in the end, I ended up signing something that twice I signed something because I signed something again. And because I tried to fight him, I did go back to LA and I did get a temporary restraining order and I did, try to tough it out. But I went back to Texas when a friend of mine died and I had to be there for his wife because I've known her since I was 10 and she was pregnant with their fifth kid. And I found myself in Texas, very depressed with my daughter, out of money. The lawyers in Beverly Hills were threatening to drop my case. And he once again manipulated me and just said, please don't file this restraining order. You could ruin my career. I won't be able to work for a year. And just come back up here. I'll help you co-parent so you can still do comedy. And I made the worst decision ever by signing that document, which put me and my daughter back up here. And also, the West Coast lawyers made it sound like to me it was going to be very easy to get a request to move out of state, which it's not, especially in a state like Pennsylvania. It's very like, did you ever see that movie Shakespeare in Love?
I don't think I did.
Oh my God, it's so good. Okay, it's really good. It has Jeffrey Rush, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Colin Firth, but it's a period piece. Oh, it has Ray Fiennes' brother, Joseph Fiennes, but it's a period piece about like Shakespeare falling in love. And it's very prominent in my brain how he's like, will you all be welcome in Virginia? And but there's talk of like Pennsylvania, but this is Pennsylvania. It's very old time. It's Pennsylvania. It's one of the oldest, Philadelphia is one of the oldest cities in the U.S. So the ways here are very old and the laws are very favorable towards men. When it comes to divorce and custody and all those things. So to get out of the state of Pennsylvania is very difficult with a child.
Yeah.
And
That's
and it's
now
go ahead.
When you were back in Texas, so are your parents in any way, your mom helping you out or is there any support?
So my biological father and my stepmother, I did meet with them and they basically proceeded to judge me based off of social media. My stepmother's like, oh, taking her here and then there and she's just everywhere. And I'm like, well, because this happened and because my lawyers told me to do this and because, and they basically told me that they could not speak to me if I had a relationship with my mother. And I'm like, okay, so they're not in my life. but they haven't been for years. Like, they've been very unsupportive. So they have not helped at all, not in any way.
That's your dad and his wife?
Yeah. And he has money because he supports her 2 kids, or well, I guess my stepbrother's moved out now, but he supports her, my stepsister, my stepsister's kid, and her parents. He supports all of them. So I know he has money. Like, you can't help your only biological child. Like, come on. Like, what's wrong with you? He's got something wrong as well. So, and then my mother, I know, my mom's tried to help as much as she can, but, you know, she's a secretary. My stepdad's a cop, and, you know, I'm not my stepdad's daughter. So he's not, like, motivated to really, really be there for me. You know what I mean? Like, I think he loves me, but it's not the same for him. And I don't think he, necessarily likes me. I think he thinks I'm obnoxious because I make jokes and I'm loud, and
because you're a comic,
I mean,
right?
I'm a comic.
What if
they made me into this? You know what I mean? You didn't love me, so now I'm a comic.
This is on them. Hey, you know, if you were, what would be your ideal support system right now?
It's so horrible to say. Okay, sorry. I'm like, I should. Like, even now, I'm like, oh God, what I'm talking about is so sad and depressing. I need to throw in jokes every now and then. Isn't that horrible? I keep thinking I need to make you laugh so that you won't feel like this is a burden upon you.
You don't have to make.
I forgot the thing about, like, have you seen Sleeping with the Enemy, but the alternate ending where she doesn't leave?
No, you don't. You don't have to. Don't feel like you have to make. Okay. I mean, this is about divorce, so. Hey, I've had 2. I know it's not an easy
people
thing.
Know. They're like, oh, it's divorce talk. Okay, got you. So you've been divorced twice.
Yeah. Yeah. It was all in the 90s. Yeah. This
is my second divorce too, though.
Yeah. Okay. And now, how long were you and your husband together?
So when he kicked us out in July and broke up and all that, August, September, December would have been 3 years of marriage. So not even 3 years.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it's been fairly recent. But
he makes the first divorce look like a cupcake, honestly. First divorce is not
how long ago was your first divorce?
I was like 21, I think. Like, you know, in Texas, and I got married young, and, you know.
Right.
It was nothing like this. It was very easy, not problematic. I mean, it was painful because I'd grown very attached to his daughter. He was a single father, and I loved his daughter very much. Her name was Caden, and we were really close. But I was very immature and selfish, and wanted to do what I wanted to do, and I wanted to travel. I wanted to go live in New York and LA, and he didn't want to do that. And I remember at the time being like, just because you have a kid, now I'm like, oh fuck, I understand. I have a kid now. I'm a single parent. I'm like, oh God, I totally understand what he means now. Like, you know, being your family and needing help. And but when you had said something earlier about support system.
What's your ideal support system?
Well, it would be like to be either in LA or Texas around people who I know and love and can trust. But I have had some help, and I don't want to sound so like, oh, woe is me. I've been very blessed. Like, people have helped me. Lana Turner has helped me. Craig Robinson has helped me. And there's people out there that have called and talked to me, like Michelle Murdoch. And, you know, I was crying to her on the phone, like, you know, LA can be a little bit funny sometimes, like, you know, negative energy, that kind of thing. Like, they don't want to do drama or whatever. But Zara and I do have people that love us, you know. Nicole Stone, Skylar Stone's wife, you know, she's been very supportive over the phone. And unfortunately, you know, a lot of people gave me great advice, like my best friend in Texas. She gave me great advice that I just wasn't ready to hear yet, because I still, even after he kicked me out, wanted to be with him. You know, I was like, oh, maybe he just wants really good makeup sex. It's not over. He still loves me. This is just him being aggressive.
Right? If you just do these few things, you know you can get him back. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Isn't that horrible? And and what's crazy is I was using my daughters. I'm like, oh, my daughter deserves to have her family. My daughter deserves to be, like, near her father. And then I started to finally slowly realize, oh, God, I'm just extremely codependent on this man. Like, I need him to feel like I can stand on my own 2 feet, which is so weird, because when I met him, I was completely financially independent and totally fine. I had a great life when I met him. And the thing with men who are liars and cheaters and abusive and sociopaths, they don't come into your life being that way.
No.
Because if they did, they would be like, you'd be like, no thanks. But they come in very
sneaky.
No,
they're very good. Sneaky. And that's just it. You just hit it on the head. I can so relate to what you're saying, because when I met someone that I ended up falling for and moving across the country for, he was not at all what he really was. I mean, he had such a different facade about him. That wasn't who he was. boy, fool me. That I fell
Right.
for it. And the other thing is to your point, because I was living in New York. So like you, I was busy. I was booking gigs. I was doing things.
Yeah.
I felt great about myself. I loved my life. And then enter this person and everything changed so quickly.
Yeah.
How long were you and your husband, your second husband, how long were you together before you got married?
We were only together. So, we were together off and on for like 2 years. And around the second year, I got pregnant with our daughter. And I was immediately happy because I'd always wanted a child. And he was immediately not happy. He actually tried to force me to abort her, and he left me pregnant. But the way that I got pregnant with her was very horrible because I had caught him cheating on me for the second time and made the decision, okay, I'm finally going to move on with my life. We had a horrible altercation in his apartment in downtown LA, and I went and stayed with a good girlfriend of mine. She's like, oh, I'm so happy for you to start your life over fresh and new without this liar. I'm like, me too. And then the next morning I was like, oh my God, why does my stomach feel nauseous?
Oh no.
Oh yeah. So literally the next morning I found out I was pregnant, and he tried to, for over a month, he tried to force me to abort her. And I remember at one point, I literally, I went back to him, of course, because it was a high risk pregnancy. I was afraid. I'd lost my first baby. I had gotten pregnant with my husband in Texas and miscarried. And I knew that it would be a difficult pregnancy because I was born with a bicornuate uterus where your uterus was split in two. And I knew that it was 40% chance of, having her and delivery. But I felt very much that God wanted me to have her. I remember I performed at the Ice House and I did Comedy Juice. And I think Andy Dick was in the show that night. And Andy Dick and I were talking in the green room about how all shitty dads reside in Texas because Andy Dick is adopted. But I remember telling God, God, I know I could be pregnant. And if it comes between comedy and having a baby and being a mother, I choose, having a baby and being a mom. And then, of course, and I was like, well, God, can I have both? Oh my God, I love being a mom, but I really love comedy. It's one of my favorite things in the world. It's better than sex.
So when you think back on this, and you think about it's weird because I'm hearing you and I know now you're seeing this was a red flag, that was a red, you can
right, of course.
Looking back, it's always looking back, it's always so clear, right? But when you're in it, it's a whole different thing, and you think, oh, I would never be that girl, and suddenly you're in the position of being that woman in this predicament.
Well, because I loved him. I had never met anybody like him, meaning he's very intelligent. And I think I've always been a sucker for a magnificent brain. So that was what drew me to him in the beginning, was how smart he was. I never, ever thought he would use that against me, attack all of my insecurities, and I didn't know how twisted he was. And mind you, I'm not perfect. I have issues. I turned some horrible addictions into positive addictions. Before I met him, I had a messy life. I wasn't perfect, but when I met him, I finally, I was property managing. I had my bungalows. I was waiting tables. I was taking comedy classes. I was doing comedy. I was producing my own show. I was working out. I had everything set up to where I was still kind of in, I would almost say where an addict sets up a life for themselves, where they're on the road to recovery. I was on my road to recovery, meaning I was no longer a cutter. I didn't cut on myself anymore as a teenager like I did. As a teenager, I used to cut on myself. So I no longer cut. Instead, I worked out a lot, or now I eat healthy. And it really transformed my life. And when I met him, him and I had a lot in common as far as, and this is a red flag for anybody listening that's not divorced yet or thinking of getting married, but we both had very ugly childhoods. So that was something that made us bond, but at the same time, that should have been a red flag. Oh, his father left, his father was abusive. Oh, maybe he's going to be abusive towards me. And,
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too, with domestic abuse, that, the law doesn't see grays or different shades of black and white. They just want black and white, black and white.
Yeah.
And towards the end, I started standing up for myself. I couldn't be bullied or treated that way anymore. And that was the real issue too, is that he wanted to continue to be able to control me. And when I started speaking up and, he'd corner me, he's 6'7", 6'5", and he'd corner me in our apartment and tower above me. And I'd say, move. And he wouldn't move. And I'd start pushing him, please move. I can't, no, move. And I started like fighting for myself. And that was an issue because he was very much somebody that liked to be in control, which in the beginning, 20, or was I 20? No, I was like 30, I think. I was like, oh yeah, whatever, babe. You can spank me as hard as you want. And then after I had my daughter, I'm like, no, that hurts. Can you make love to me? Like, be nice.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be choked anymore because I have a kid and I care about myself now and I love myself more than I did when I first met you. I've grown, meeting you, I've grown, and becoming a mom is just such a magical experience. And I think a lot of men, unfortunately, and to me, like, I don't know if you meditate. Do you meditate?
No, but I probably should.
Well, I do. I don't meditate as much as I used to, but I used to do a lot of transcendental meditation. And that was around the time I started doing readings for people, like psychic medium readings. And I'm very much into like spiritual geometry and that we're all connected. And I do feel that right now there's a mass awakening, and there has been for a few years, but I feel like the root of the problem is that men don't have a good example. And a lot of women don't either of what, the man is supposed to be the leader in the family, right? But if you don't believe in God, where's your moral compass?
Well, if you've never had any example of what that is, how would you know?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
If all you've seen is, this and that, that's what you're going to do. And you don't think that you're going to replicate, but it's true. And I mean, I've struggled being a single mom right now with my daughter. I mean, now I realize, oh, my mom had it really hard. Like, I used to judge her so much. And I still have my qualms with her, and there's a lot of things I don't agree with on her, but at the same time, I understand her more. Now I'm like, oh, not that she didn't want to play with me, but somebody had to do the laundry and the dishes and pack my lunch and, take care of the house. Like,
and now that you're a mom, you totally get it.
Totally get it. Yeah. And it's just, I think my hope for the world is that people get back in touch with their spirituality and with God, and the empathy is more prevalent, and that people realize, like, because I feel like on Facebook and like in media and stuff, people are always like, oh, join this movement or do this fundraiser. But then when it's somebody they know, they're less likely to get involved. And that kind of not behooves me, that kind of like flabbergasts me. Like,
yes,
I'm here. I'm right next to you. And this is happening to me like right now. Can you please help me? But I think for some people to accept that truth is almost accepting truths about themselves that they haven't even explored yet. Like, and it's also kind of annoying for people too, because if they see you going through something as horrific as what me and my daughter have been through, then it's like if they ignore it, then it's going to make them feel weird. So then now they feel obligated, and they don't want to feel obligated because they're busy or they don't want to get involved.
Well, and I think one of the things that I hear or that I kind of experience is when you're going through something like this too, part of me felt like I feel like such a Debbie Downer. I don't want to tell people. And then when I did tell people, I felt ashamed and embarrassed because I instantly felt judged. And some friends that I had, they felt it was like, well, you should do this. And I heard a lot of you should have, and you shouldn't have done this, and you should do that. And it's almost, I know that they were trying to help, but I also feel at the same time that pushed me farther away into my shell. Like that was like the worst thing you could tell me is like, you should have, like, because it was almost condescending and rude. It's like, well, now you're beating me down, but in a different way.
Right. Yeah. No. And that's kind of like one of the qualms with my mother, is that she'll be like, you should have done this. I'm like, well, you're making me feel worse. Like, that's not helping me anything at all. And, I mean, we all learn in different capacities and in different ways. And right now, to be honest with you, even though my life, how do I put it? Like my credit, I used to care so much about my credit. My credit's horrible now. My daughter and I are barely making it. I am missing comedy 24/7. Things are really hard. I have to say my self-confidence is much higher than it was before, because I am accepting this as my truth. I am speaking up about it, and I am being a voice for myself, because if I saw this happening to someone else, if I saw another mother and a child being forced to live somewhere, being isolated, if I saw a man abusing his own wife and child and just making them stay somewhere while he travels the country and like just not caring that he's ruining somebody's life, if I saw that happening to another woman and a child, I would say something. I'd be like, this is wrong. Why is it happening to her? This doesn't make sense.
Right. Well, go ahead.
No, I mean, and there's the other aspect of like the abuse was very intense, meaning there were seeds he planted in my brain when we dated. And I put up a video that's very sad, but very honest about when my daughter would go visit him. I'm here in this apartment. I thought I was having anxiety because I thought maybe me and my daughter were codependent on each other, which I think we are. And I don't think that's healthy. I think that we need more people in our lives. But right now, we're all we got. We have a few friends that we've made because I talk a lot, but we're literally all we got is each other.
Yeah. Oh.
But I realized the anxiety from her going over there was I didn't feel safe. And I didn't feel safe because he wrote a writing about wanting to put me into a hole in the ground.
Right.
And that's a legitimate fear and anxiety that I shouldn't have to experience.
But it's weird because emotional abuse, people, when they say stuff to us, it's weird because at the time it's like if you take it out of context, it doesn't sound like anything bad. But then when you're in it and it's overtime and it's a lot, it builds up to beat you down.
Right.
But if someone were to hear but if someone were to hear like one or two of the things, I'd be like, well, what's your problem? Like, that's no big deal. It's a very weird, it's a very strange and weird thing that's people don't always understand unless they've experienced it themselves.
No, I agree. And it's very difficult when you're going through all this because the lawyers want emails, they want screenshots of things. So here you are trying to forget about the horrible things that somebody said or the horrible things that happened, and you're having to constantly look at the photos of the bruises or the writing that he wrote about, wishing that you would miscarry the baby or just horrible crap that you don't want to like keep having to see,
Yeah. No, that's a lot. If this, obviously you're in the middle of it and it's going to be a while, but I know you've probably learned so much. How old is your daughter now?
She is 4, going on like 25.
I bet. Well, when she's old enough to date, what would you like her to know? What would you like her to know about dating and what to look for? What red flags would you warn her against?
Well, I feel like if I do the other work, that the red flags will come to her naturally. And when I say the other work, I mean she needs therapy. A lot of therapy. I need therapy still. I have a therapist. I have a Christian therapist, and she had a therapist for a little while here, but I'm going to have her in therapy. The book that I'm reading, Women Who Love Too Much, I'm going to have her read it because, right now she's even acting out a little because she doesn't really see him as much as she used to, obviously, because I have primary physical custody. And, for the 6 months he was in Pittsburgh, he didn't, see her for all of his custody time because he couldn't. And, after a while, we both quit crying about him. Like we both cried a lot in the beginning. We both missed him and we cried for him. After a while, we quit crying. And now we've moved on, but I don't know that we've really moved on in some ways. Meaning like for her, I see her acting out or I'll see her kind of have a hard time telling people goodbye. And I feel like it's an effect of what's happened with the divorce. So if I can do the work of like being honest with her and talking to her about things and, and I struggle with like, yelling too much. And I told her the other day, I was like, baby, I'm sorry I yelled at you. And she's like, it's okay, Mom. I'm like, well, it's not okay. Mom, you shouldn't yell. I should talk to you, but I'm really angry about our situation and I'm sorry. And she's like, okay, it's okay, Mom. I make sure that I say something if I'm wrong or I voice my mistakes, which can also kind of backlash on you as a mother, though, because then she kind of sees herself as an equal. But right now, I just feel like talking in honesty with some boundaries, because she is only 4, is the best way to remedy a future life where she'll know that love is supposed to feel good. Love isn't supposed to feel bad. That a mysterious man means he's probably lying.
Yeah.
He's so mysterious. I never know where he is. Oh, because he's cheating all the time, or or a man or that drugs is not good. If the guy used to be a drug dealer and he's very nonchalant about drugs, that's probably not a good sign either. Like,
yeah,
it's hard because I don't want to talk bad about her father or paint him to be this horrible person. But the truth of the matter is, she's going to get at a certain age where she's going to find out that he was abusive. You know what I mean? Like that's going to come up. And I don't even know how I'm going to have that conversation with her because, it hurt me when my parents talked about each other or when they painted the other one in a bad light. the last thing I want to do is do that to my child.
Yeah.
But how do I explain to her story? Her story is being created every single day that him and I argue and fight, even if it's not in front of her, it's affecting her. And that's what's really sad about the whole thing. It's an unfortunate thing that is very like, man, you know, I wish he respected me enough to be nice and let us live where we wanted to live.
Right.
I don't know if I answered your question or if I went off on another tangent.
No, you didn't. I mean, it's got to be so challenging with a daughter and then wanting to make sure that she's protected and that these things don't happen to her in the future. And, you know, it's going to be ongoing. You know, you're going to have this relationship with your daughter the rest of your life, fortunately. So there's always time. Well, hopefully there's that time that you can help her get through it. And not having a child of my own, I often wonder, you know, how do you handle that? That's very tricky because you don't
you make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
You make a lot of mistakes. And what I realized the other day is he's going to come off as like the better parent and as more perfect to her because he's around less to make more mistakes.
Right.
He's around me all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I make mistakes all the time. And I mean, I'm not perfect. No mother is, especially a mother in my situation.
Right.
You know? And that's been part of my case and my pleadings, you know, the lawyers. And I mean, I've just been through, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, woe is me again, but like, you know, I even had a lawyer that sexually harassed me. Like, knowing my story, knowing what I've been through, to have another man present himself as one thing and then be another, I mean, that was devastating too.
Right.
And it's like,
oh, geez. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
so
there's a loss. I can't really talk about all that, but
yeah, that's not good. I don't want to make you talk about that then, but the hope that this will end soon, what do you hope to see happen in the next 6 months with you? Where would you like to end up?
Honestly?
Yeah.
That, well, financially, I'm not doing well. So where I would like to end up and where I could end up, you know, realistically, I'm not sure. I mean, what I really would love is for us to go back to LA.
Yeah.
To be able to go, be able to go to the Comedy Store and see my friends and to do a set and to really embrace a lot of the things I took for granted. I think I've kind of got a little bit out of touch with things out in LA, and I got a little entitled and bratty in some ways, you know. But to perform with my friends, to see my daughter on the beach playing, and you know, to be stuck in traffic with her in LA sounds like the greatest thing in the world right now. Like, I did nothing but complain about LA traffic, and right now I would love nothing more to be stuck in LA headed to an audition in Santa Monica. I would just like to rebuild my life to what it was before I allowed someone to dismantle it piece by piece.
Yeah.
I would like that. I would love to see her and I auditioning together. She's funny. She's very, you know, she's a star. I would love to have my own sitcom. I mean, me and her on a sitcom together, momic, would be great. And
I love it.
I mean,
you already
really,
have a
think
name.
about it.
Yeah.
How many single mom sitcoms do you know of where there's a struggling single mom? That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And to kind of just help inspire other single moms and victims of domestic abuse, and, you know, and just for myself, honestly, just to grow and be better too. I mean, I'm still, you know, I'm still going through it, like, as you said. So there's a lot of bitterness that still resides in me, and I'm still working on the anger.
Yeah.
It's very, oh, Lord Jesus. It's very difficult.
I know. And you're going through so much. This is a very transformative time. Who, you know, knowing who you've been in the past and your accomplishments and what you've been working on, but who is the person that you want to become through all of this? What character traits would you like to develop out of this whole process?
I want to go back to being more giving.
Mm-hmm. I
used to volunteer for this orphanage in Tijuana. one of the many things I used to do when I met him that I stopped doing. And I'm sure this sounds familiar to you, where you have this life that's very full of things and they all kind of fade away.
Yeah.
But I would like to start doing more for other people again, volunteering again, being a stronger, and I would like to be more positive. I know that there are times when I feel sorry for myself, but at the end of the day, I'm very lucky to have a beautiful, healthy little girl. I'm very lucky for my dog. I'm very lucky that I can sing and that I can do comedy. Like, when you have everything taken away from you, you go back to the basics. So if I could maintain a sense of thankfulness, but get back to who I was, where I'm auditioning and being a comic, that would be so great. If I could just be better than I was and be nice to her father. Eventually, I'd like to be able to be nice to him. I'd like to be able to be diplomatic and work with him. But right now, it's not a working relationship. It is a dictatorship, and I am the oppressed and he is the oppressor. So hopefully I can be kinder too. Like, I feel like I've always had a bit of a rough edge to me in some ways. Like, I'm outspoken, but there's a way to be outspoken.
Mm-hmm.
There's an eloquent way. I'm still learning to be more eloquent. So I'd like to be more eloquent, outspoken, and forgiving. I'd like to learn how to forgive. It's so hard for me to forgive. And, I got a lot closer to God, and I think God is still working on me, and he has a lot to teach me. He's showing me that you don't just learn something through him and then you learn it. You learn it, and then you learn it again, and then you learn it again, and then you mess up, and then you learn it again. And that what he has to say is always a gift, even if it sounds ugly. I know we have to end soon, but I was just going to say, I told this woman I met out here that I feel like I'll make smoothies for my daughter to make sure she gets her vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put flaxseed, I'll put kale, spinach, like all her stuff in her lunch that she didn't finish, I put in the freezer, uses the next day. And, sometimes they don't taste that good, but she drinks them. And I'm like, baby, they're good for you. You just drink it. You don't drink it for the taste. I'm teaching her that you eat things for your health, not for the taste. And she's only 4, and she freaking rocks it. She's a rock star.
That's
and so
awesome.
I think that God kind of gives a smoothie sometimes. And I think that this past year, he just gave me a real suck-time smoothie. He's like, this is not going to taste good, but it's going to be really good for you. You're going to appreciate the little things a lot more. You're going to, it's a very complex.
Yeah. What a great analogy,
thing.
though. He's like growing you into a whole new person.
Yeah, a better person, because I want to be better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'll just one last question. What do you think the perfect opportunity for you is here?
Here in LA?
Where you are now,
Or
just
here?
in life, yeah.
Oh, just where I'm at in my life. It's an opportunity for me to be stronger than I ever thought I could be. Like, I never knew I was this strong. Like, I went through months of waking up and feeling a pain in my heart, like a physical pain. And I think that the little girl inside of me kind of had to be unleashed. I think that, I'm not medicated. I used to be on antidepressants, and I haven't been medicated for years. And I think that's a good thing. I think I grew. If the early menopause was devastating, but it helped me. It's weird. Like, I just got propelled into this place in life where I've always wanted to be a leader. I've always wanted to be a political figure. I've always wanted to help make the world a better place. And I think that all these things I've been through are molding me into being a better person. I've gotten to do things that I always wanted to do. I always wanted to be in a gospel choir. I always wanted to sing the blues. Well, I never had been blasted open enough to sing the blues the way I sing it now. And now I've been blasted open. And I think right now is the opportunity for me to rise up, be a voice for other women who don't like as much attention as I do, who don't want to stand up and talk in front of her. I love attention.
Yeah.
Whether it's good or bad. If that's a good or a bad thing, at this point, I don't care anymore, because I like sharing and talking to people, and I like helping people. And I think I need to be a voice for other women. And these jokes that I've started doing about abuse, they're hilarious. And hopefully it'll help another woman. I just want to help. It sounds cheesy, but really, I just want to help make the world a better place.
It doesn't sound cheesy at all. It sounds pretty darn wonderful. I think that's really awesome. And I wow. Thank you so much for sharing all of this with me and our listeners and everything. This is a lot. You're right in the middle of it. And, you know, you're so willing to put it out there so that even if there's one other person experiencing the same thing that you are, they can know that they're not alone. And
well, yeah, because we're all a part of each other. We are. So we really are. Like,
yeah, this is really helpful. And I think, you know, I can't wait to hear what your future holds for you. And yeah, and I would giving you a very long distance hug and hoping that, you know, really that things turn out in your favor and you get a break here soon.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I know you're going through a lot and it's certainly not easy. And I hope that your daughter is all right and you guys can just.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess the last thing I wanted to say one more thing is, you know, by trying to make the world a better place, it's almost even something as simple as making sure I raise a healthy child, you know, by making sure she's healthy and sound, you know, that's a huge responsibility. And it's a very, like I said before, I'm in a very difficult situation because I feel that my happiness bleeds into her happiness. So it's also about the example I want to set to her. And, you know, I want to be a woman who gives up the fight. You know, I don't know. I got to do what's best for both of us. So that's still kind of something I'm processing.
No, that you're doing it. You're doing it, and hang in there. And you have support and people that love you here on the West Coast.
Thank you.
And we're here for you. And keep me posted.
If anybody knows a pro bono lawyer out here, come hit me up.
yes, we'll put it out there. If we know some good attorney and people in the legal field over in the Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, it's in the courthouse is in Media. It's Delaware County.
Yeah,
it's I need some legal help, and I hopefully won't have to go to jail. I don't know. Maybe the next podcast we do, we'll talk about me being in jail.
No, let's not talk about that. I don't want you in jail.
I'll be like, wait a minute. I'm like, you want to put a single mom in jail? You want to give me free food that's prepared for me, fresh clothes that I didn't have to wash, and a night off from my nagging 4-year-old? Let me think about this.
No, you don't need that kind of time out. Oh my goodness.
I know. Say prayers for me. Prayers would be great. And actually, I'll send you my GoFundMe information. I'm putting it up today.
Excellent.
People can help if they want to.
And we will definitely put all of your contact information in the show notes so our listeners can reach out to you and shower you with some love and support, maybe some legal help information. So all of that is good. And
thank you so much. You're like an awesome podcaster. Like you listen, like you're such a great listener. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll talk to you very soon, I hope, Tiffany.
Okay, bye. Have a blessed day.
You too. Bye-bye.